is Jack Red VT, your knight in not so shining armor. I know I normally don't stream on Mondays, but today being a holiday and all, I decided I'd do take a look at what I call not a let's play, but a let's look at. Where I basically look at some, minor game or something that's not really meant to be kind of like arcade style games and whatnot, mixed with a bit of Zatsudan talked about stuff. Since today's Memorial Day, I didn't have work today, and I know going into work tomorrow it's going to be complete hell because of the 3-day weekend, so I decided to stream today, and then I unfortunately won't be streaming tomorrow, but anyway, going off the title here, we have, with Memorial Day being the effectively unofficial start of summer, I decided to start this off by looking at Grill Off with Ultra Hand, a game released through WiiWare, which was basically a little downloadable game on the Wii Shop channel. This one being special due to the fact it was basically only initially available through Club Nintendo membership. You would subscribe to a little service they had that was sort of the successor to the Nintendo Fun Club of the 80s and early 90s. And you would redeem it for points, kind of like what they have on the Switch now, where by buying games or doing little tasks you can kind of collect points, though on Switch Online it's basically just for things to make little avatars out of. But anyway, Grill Off with Ultra Hand was available, originally released in 2010 through the WiiWare service, and then eventually when Club Nintendo was shut down in 2014, this game was effectively delisted in a sense. That's when I basically picked this up, as well as Dr. Moose's Punch-Out, if you can't see by the Club Nintendo here, but we'll come to that some other time. Part of me wants to call this I think it's called Lost Media or something, but I know someone out there who's modded their Wii to Kingdom Come, to where they have effectively not only every Wii game in existence, but basically pretty much every video game pre-2000 on their Wii, because as much as people say that if it was made available they would purchase it, they wouldn't. They just don't want to pay for their entertainment. Anyway, the Ultra Hand, not just the fact that this was available through Club Nintendo, but the Ultra Hand is basically a super important piece of Nintendo history, as was a toy they released back in 1966. After doing Hanafuda cards, by the time we get to the 60s, that market had kind of hit a wall in terms of growth. So Nintendo tried to branch out in different other areas, including things like taxi services, vacuum cleaners, and also love hotels, which are, for lack of a better term, brothels in a sense. Yeah, Nintendo, the family-friendly company that's often considered the Japanese equivalent to Disney, once ran love hotels. But anyway, these different endeavors all flopped harder than the Virtual Boy, until one day Nintendo employee Gunpei Yokoi basically made this little gizmo thing for him to goof around with in his free time. Nintendo president Hiroshi Yamauchi caught him playing with it one day, and instead of being fired for it, like you would expect from Japanese business, Japanese business people being very work-centric, you think you'd get fired for getting busted with something to kind of goof around. Instead, Yamauchi saw it and was like, make that into a product or something. Because after these different endeavors failed, Nintendo ultimately moved into toys, and the Ultra Hand was one of their first big hits, and the first example of that unique Nintendo flavor that everyone knows, loves, and for whatever reason tells Nintendo to just get rid of. But Anyway, the Ultra Hand set Nintendo on the path to being a toy company through the 60s and 70s, until the Color TV Game 6 in 1977 basically set them on the path to video games. And if the recent stuff like the Mario movie and the Super Nintendo theme park are anything to go off of, Nintendo could very well be branching out into another business, just like they kind of initially branched out into toys in the 60s, and then in the late 70s started to branch off into video games. But anyway, I chose this one since I decided to do this since it's Memorial Day. That's the unofficial start to summer. Summer means grilling and whatnot, and I just figured it'd be funny, it'd be kind of interesting to talk about this a little bit and show it off, since this is probably a game that not a lot of people have, since, again, it was initially only available through Club Nintendo, which went down in 2014. So, anyway, let's jump here. Yep. Anyway. Typical Wii thing of stuff around you. Checking Wii system memory. I don't recall ever actually pumping this in too much, just kind of downloading it for the sake of bragging rights. But yeah, Nintendo does like to reference their past history with stuff like this. A lot of their toys are also made cameos and stuff like Animal Crossing and Pikmin 2. Basically just an arcade-style game with an old toy from Nintendo's history. Let's look at the rankings here. We have Short Order Cook, Apprentice Griller, Blind Cook, Rookie Roaster. Seems like that should be down here somewhere, but and Charbroiled Champ. Mode and then the multiplayer, or two-player, I guess. It's his versus mode, but let's start with how to play. To play Grill Off with Ultra Hand, use the hold the Wiimote in your right hand and then chuck in your left. Yes, that right here. Hold the Wiimote and then chuck as shown. Start the Ultra Hand, hold the Wiimote and then chuck apart. Track the Ultra Hand, bring the Wiimote, and then unchuck back together. This is basically how the Ultra Hand worked. Left to right, and then unchucks joystick to move the Ultra Hand to the left or to the right. Go ahead and try to line up the Ultra Hand in front of the meat. You have the Ultra Hand lined up correctly, it's time to test your skill. Press up A to grab the meat, and release A to drop it. First challenge, try to pick up the meat and put it on the plate in front of you. When the meat's been cooked to perfection, it's simply grown in size. Grab the meat right then to get a just right bonus and extra points. Just right bonuses in a row, increase your combo, and boost your score. Press and hold B or C to turn up the heat on your grill. You're really getting the hang of it, but be careful. If you let the meat burn or drop on the ground, it'll be game over for you. go here.
3, 2, 1.
Damn it, I chopped it. Game over. Cut. 100 points. Hash slinger. The hash slinging, bash pinging, cash bringing. But I suck is what I'm saying. But, yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Try and end. Just right. Points. Oh. And I'm in the groove. I'm in the groove. This is a bit of a workout, honestly. And again, the movement here, I'm assuming is what the Ultra Hand actually work like. I never actually used one or even seen one in real life, but... And it burned. That wasn't bad though. 8,300. Short order cook. I think that puts me on the leaderboard. Not that it really matters, because I don't think there was a way to share it online, but... Enter name. Just enough space for Jackrid, so... Go. Short order cook, just like I was in college, where I worked in fast food. But, anyway, let's see if I can't do any better.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, shit. Come on. It's not like anyone saw it hit the ground. Just getting a drink here. Mellow yellow this time.
Three, 2, 1.
People in 1966 must have been bored out of their minds if the Ultra Hand qualified as entertainment. This is being a bit of a workout. My arms are getting a little sore here. We're not just getting shish kebabs or whatever, we're now getting actual chunks of meat. I actually had some hamburgers earlier today. Because, you know, start to summer means burgers galore. Ah, shit. Short order cook. Yeah, that falls just short of getting back on the leaderboard, but whatever. I'm not gonna hit that top score anyway.
3, 2, 1.
Start. So even though it's now 8 in the evening where I'm at, how was Memorial Day for anybody who watches this? Me, I just kind of stayed inside in the air conditioning and sitting there dreading having to go back to work tomorrow because I know it's going to be rough as shit. I work filing mortgages for a living, and Mondays are always busy because, I mean, nobody's there Saturday or Sunday. But this being a holiday, we're not there Monday either, so going in on Tuesday, there's going to be probably 3 times as much work as there normally is. And even assuming that some people decide not to just call off and do a 4-day weekend, you know who you are, it's going to suck. Which is why I'm doing a stream now, because I'm definitely not going to be able to do it tomorrow because of that. There's really not much to this. I mean, we're kind of just seeing it all here. It's just, you know, arcadey style goodness that
3, 2, 1.
a lot of people know and everyone knows and loves. I figured it's worth showing off since it's a game that not a lot of people would have. Even though I'm sure there is a way that you can find it online. I don't know how, but I figured show it off here. That way, in case, you know, like my Wii U memory corrupts or something, that I'll have record of this game and playing it and giving my opinion on it and talking about whatever in the meantime.
Three, 2, 1.
While my family was mostly enjoying a holiday outside in the sun and swimming in the pool and whatnot, I was just staying inside in air conditioning. I even have a little fan going beside me right now to keep me cool because it's hot as heck down here. Even though I'm in the basement where supposedly hot air rises and cool air falls, it's still pretty warm out. Also, I'm wearing sweatpants just so my legs aren't bothered by the wires from my Wiimote, my Wii nunchuck and microphone and whatnot. I dropped it on bricks, not on grass. And even so, who cares? If you've ever seen the movie Waiting, then you know a little floor spice makes everything nice. But yeah.
3, 2, 1.
That's the... What I saw there was just turning the heat up. I guess to cook it faster. Not that really would be useful once you get to like, I guess level 6 or something. It's going fast as heck. Damn it. Oh well. It's really not that different from when I worked in fast food. Where just as long as the customer doesn't see anything, you're good. But I did make it to the board again. But this being an arcade game, I gotta at least once put in ass. Come on, nobody would do that. I mean, old school arcade games, it gave you room. It basically had room for just 3 letters. Sure, I could put JAC to represent Jack, or since this one actually allows 6 letters, I could put my whole name. But come on, you gotta put a funny name in there.
Three, 2, 1.
pretty big combos, even though I can't really see my score because I'm in the way, but... c'est la vie. It's an arcade game, there's not really... There's only so much I can really say here, but... Oh, and we're getting lost now. We're at level 3 now, so... Well, what'd I get this time? 20,000. Oh, damn. Well, I guess those combos do multiply pretty quickly, so... I believe this puts me on number 3 on the list, maybe? 3? Nope, number 4. Only a 12 combo, but 20,000 points. Not looking at it, I'm not gonna get it. I don't see myself getting over 100 combo or 200,000 points. But, yeah. Name in here. Actually, if ass is too vulgar to put in, you can always put in poo. Like that one episode of Simpsons where they're at the bowling alley and Lenny puts in ass for his name and Carl puts poo for his. And Homer's like, when they're like, "Hey Homer, why can't name you on?" He's like, "Are poo and ass taken?" Yeah. Damn it! Or that episode of Futurama where they're in, like, what if life was like a video game? And Fry gets the high score on the Space Invaders, or the not Space Invaders thing, and he puts in ass and laughs. As you do when you play an old school arcade game and get a decent enough score to make it on the scoreboard. Slow there in terms of getting it just right. When it comes to cooking meat on the grill, I don't want it super burnt. Personally, I prefer to cook food in microwave, but that's because I'm effectively a loser with no real cooking skills, despite working in fast food for 7.5 years. But that was just a stepping stone to have something to do while I was in college. And,
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I prefer food in the microwave, not on a grill. If I do grill, if I do have something on the grill, I'd rather it be, like, not super burnt. Meanwhile, the rest of my family, they basically burn it till it's a pile of ashes. They're like, but that's how it tastes good. Like, that's not... What good is cooking food if it burns to the point where you just touch it and it just poofs into a pile of ashes? That's not food. That's like eating out of a frickin' ashtray. So just eat, cigarette butts at that point. It would be about as tasty. But, yeah, my family mostly... My sister took her kids out to the pool to have fun today, since, I have a 7-year-old nephew who's off school for Memorial Day, obviously. Not that it matters, because now that we're at Memorial Day, we're kind of at the point where teachers can legally give up on trying to teach kids anything. At least that's how it was when I was in school, where once Memorial Day came along, nothing else really mattered in terms of what they tried to teach you. Granted, my nephew's only 7 years old, so he's in like 2nd grade, I think, 1st or 2nd grade. So it's not really like he's learning anything. It's not like he's really learning anything major, but still. Okay, let's try again. But yeah, they went to the pool. I didn't go with them because, well, I didn't go with them because I burn up in the sun. I mean, my sister and her husband, they spend a lot of time out in the sun, but even they got burnt today.
3, 2,
So,
1.
I mean, my brother-in-law, he cleans windows for a living, so when summertime rolls around, he's basically out in the sun all the time, so he usually has a tan, but even he got a little burnt today. So someone like him could get burnt. Someone like me, who's a borderline vampire, wouldn't stand a chance out in the sunlight. Yeah, I don't do sunlight. But yeah, my nephew had fun out in the pool today. Apparently my sister bought him like almost like an inflatable kind of... It's almost like a water slide with a little bit of a thing you climb on. I don't really know how to describe it, other than just kind of like an inflatable slip and slide type thing to go into the pool. Which, I mean, that's kind of cool, but... And also my little niece, who's only 10 months old, got to go out to the pool for the first time. I'm hoping that her parents were smart enough to not have her exposed to the sun too much. Because, I mean, she's only 10 months old, and a sunburn on a little baby would be very hard to, hard to calm down a baby with a sunburn. big old turkey. And I dropped it. But hey, I got 35,000. Not bad. It's at least enough to get on the leaderboard, for what that's worth. Apprentice Griller. Enter my name. I put in my actual name this time, just to presumably have something for like a thumbnail for the pod channel. So I don't know how to... I don't really know how to take a screenshot specifically with like Streamlabs or what have you to specifically get a, you know, thumbnail, so I just kind of have to sit here like this and kind of hope that the RNG works in my favor to where I can get something like this. Saving. You know, this would be something I think would be kind of interesting for Nintendo to kind of just release again for like $5 or something. I mean, originally this was something through Club Nintendo, but since that's not a thing anymore, I don't know why they don't try something like this again with you know, the Switch membership service, where you know, you collect those gold points or platinum points or whatever, and instead of just redeeming them for, you know, redeeming them for little icons to make a little thing for yourself, you can actually save up like a few thousand and, you know, spend it on something like this. We could do that. It would be a better use of those points than just what they use them for now. But given how they dropped the Club Nintendo thing back in 2014, I'm guessing it just wasn't working out for them. 2014 was during the Wii U era where Nintendo was, you know, struggling to stay relevant. So I can understand why Club Nintendo got the boot. Same with Nintendo Power in 2012. I mean, the directs they do are more or less the spiritual successor to Nintendo Power. Just as Club Nintendo was a spiritual successor to the Nintendo Fun Club of yesteryear. But with how well the Switch did, and Nintendo probably rolling in money from things like the theme park and the Super Nintendo theme park and the Mario movies and the upcoming Zelda movie and possibly a Star Fox movie is what I'm betting on, given Fox McCloud's presence in the movie, in the Galaxy movie, and the pending Star Fox game, which everybody's complaining about it being Star Fox 64 again, but I don't know what you expect after 20 years of the... After 20 years or more of the fandom basically saying they want only Star Fox 64 and literally nothing else. Can you really blame Nintendo for just doing Star Fox 64 over and over? Because I mean, I know Adventures wasn't really a Star Fox game. That was something Rare worked on. That was supposed to be Dinosaur Planet, but then the Microsoft's buyout kind of screwed everything up at the last second. So I'm not going to hold it against Star Fox fans for being displeased with that, since that was more Zelda than Star Fox. But if we look at what happened in the few years after that, in 2005 there was Star Fox Assault, where it really seemed like Nintendo was like, yeah, we know we dropped the ball with Adventures, so here's a proper Star Fox game for you all. And everybody hated it. They didn't like the on-foot sections, even though Star Fox 64 has an unlockable on-foot section with the multiplayer in that game. Yeah, you had to get all the medals on expert mode, so not a lot of people got it, but still, it was there. Then Star Fox Command, they're just kind of like, okay, well, let's try this now, where we're going to do kind of a RTS kind of thing with Star Fox. Kind of like what Star Fox 2 was supposed to be, or what Star Fox 2 ended up being. But, again, fans were like, nope, don't like it. So then, 2011, they're just kind of like, you know what? Nintendo's just like, fuck it, we're just gonna redo Star Fox 64 for that which must not be named. And despite it being, you know, a remake, people again seem to hate it. And then Star Fox Zero came out, but given that was on the Wii U, that was probably destined to fail anyway. But A for effort, but Star Fox fans just can't be pleased. Spent the better part of 20 years saying all you wanted was Star Fox 64 and nothing else. And then they give it to you and you're just like, this isn't what I wanted. Then be more... Gamers are weird like that, where they'll say they want one thing, then the company gives it to them, and they're still not happy. And then when the company doesn't listen to the gamers, it's like, well, last time we listened to you, you were still not happy, so what are we supposed to do? We're damned if we do, damned if we don't. So... gamers can be a bit spoiled at times. Entitled. Yeah, I know I say that when I'm a gamer myself, but I at least acknowledge I can at least acknowledge that kind of bias or whatever. A lot of gamers don't. Like again, with the Star Fox thing, people are like, why keep remaking Star Fox 64? And I'm gonna be that guy and point out that you spent the better part of 20 years saying that's all you wanted. You wanted that, you didn't want anything else. Kinda makes me think that in that scene in The Dark Knight where there's the two boats, the one with the criminals and one with civilians, I feel like if we did that experiment in real life, only instead of criminals and innocents, it was one boat was gamers and one boat was game developers. We get to the part where Joker says, we blow up that one boat, I'll let that boat live. And then, before Joker could say another word, the gamer boat would push that button and blow up the gamer developer boat. And then they'd be immediately screaming, okay, we blew it up, let's get us out of here. They wouldn't even care that innocent people got killed or whatever in the process, because gamers are just that entitled. Just like with games being super duper expensive now, even though arguably gaming has always been a pricey hobby. You find examples of games being $80 or more going as far back as the late 80s, if you really wanted to look far enough. But they'll say, oh no, that was a recent thing. No, it wasn't. I think you're just not used to mommy and daddy having to buy games. You're just too used to mommy and daddy buying games for you, that when the time came where you were buying them for yourself, you just had a problem with them being pricey. I even told my oldest brother, who has a YouTube channel, that he should do a video basically highlighting games being ridiculously pricey now. Or not just ridiculously pricey now, but even ridiculously pricey in the past. Even accounting for things like inflation, an economy that worked better, and whatnot. And you could find examples where games were very pricey relative to the time. But he didn't do that. No, instead he just does. I mean, he wants me to do online stuff too, like kind of like what I'm doing now with this streaming thing. Even though, again, he knows I do streaming because my sister told him about it, but he doesn't know I do VTubing because, again, you don't tell people you know personally about it. And but for years he wanted me to do online stuff so we could sort of compete in terms of getting the most followers or subscribers or whatever. The problem is he has a 10-year head start, so on YouTube he has like 70,000 subscribers as of right now, because he's been doing it for 10 years. Because I showed it to him at one point where I showed him I forget what exactly, but it motivated him to decide to do YouTube videos where, for the most part, he just kind of talks about the 30th anniversary of various video games. Most recent one, I believe, was the 30th anniversary of Mario RPG. So, going off of that, I think the next one he does for that probably would be the 30th anniversary of the N64 and Mario 64. But, who knows? If I explain this to him, I don't think he'd understand. I don't know if he'd understand. I know he's been living in Japan for better part of 20 years now. He's married, he has a Japanese wife, 3 half-Japanese children with a 4th on the way, because I personally think he just kind of broke his brain at some point to do that. Because he's 10 years older than I am. So, having another kid when he's almost 50 years old, that just seems like a recipe for disaster. Then again, when I was born, my dad was 52 years old when I was born. And I wasn't even the last kid. I was the 4th kid. So when my little sister was born, she was the last one. Papa Jack was about almost 54 years old at that point. So yeah, he was, of course, he was something else, but no way I could fill his shoes. Neither my older brother nor my dad. They're both better. They're both better people than me. Still, my brother begs me to go visit him in Japan. Problem is, having to renew my passport and ticket. Even though I'd be staying with my brother, so I wouldn't have to worry about hotel costs. A plane ticket itself would probably be like $2,000, depending on when I go. If I go in like peak tourist season, or like even if I don't go in peak tourist season, it would still be expensive. Plus, I don't know how I'd be able to get enough time off of work to justify a trip over to Japan. I feel like I wouldn't be able to go unless I either get another job that, grants more. Wait. Shit. Yeah, my Wiimote's running out of battery, but it should have. Let's see. Horizontal position. Let's see, vertically. reset and see if that doesn't. See if that doesn't reset it. Or I might have to either get new batteries or just call it here. But I mean, this is just something small to have. You know, something to put on Twitch and the YouTube VODs. I mean, I try to keep Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in mind, but that's not always possible. Like I said, because of the way my work works, I'm gonna be fucking slammed tomorrow, so there's no way I'd be able to stream tomorrow. So instead, I have to just double check the ranking here. See if it saved my scores or not. It did. 35,000 is the highest I got. I'm sure with enough practice I could get 200,000. I don't see myself being able to do that really, but definitely not this stream because require a lot of practice as well as
3, 2, 1.
The fact that my batteries are almost dead. But yeah, if I wanted to go visit my brother in Japan, I'd need to either get a different job that has, you know, more flexible time off. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Or I would have to be, like, retired to where I don't have to worry about work anymore. But that's not gonna happen. Not now, not 40 years in the future. But even though Mama Jack tells me to save as much money as I can for the sake of retirement, I know that even if I live to 100, I'm not going to be able to retire. I tell her to retire, but she doesn't listen. Because
3, 2, 1.
I mean, she's a hard worker, but she is getting up there in years. She's 68 years old now, so basically at the retirement age. But sometimes she gets a little overworked and complains about being tired. Hi, Celestia. How you doing? How was your Memorial Day? Yeah, she sometimes complains about getting tired from working too much. And I tell Mama Jack to just retire, but she's like, I can't do that. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? How are you doing? I'm fine, I'm just streaming today since I definitely won't be able to tomorrow. Because this being a holiday, my workload tomorrow is going to be off the charts. So I figured I'd throw just a little something out here. Just to have something to, you know, put on Twitch, put on the VOD channel, what have you. But yeah. As I was saying, when it comes to my mom and retirement, for years she said she couldn't retire because she has to hit 67 to get Social Security with full benefits. But she achieved that mark almost 2 years ago. So I tell her, why not just retire? You don't have to... I get one to stay active and not just be a lump all day. I'm not saying that, you know, people should do that when they retire. But, I mean, if anyone I know has earned the right to rest, it's my mom. Because she's basically been working nonstop since she was like 15 years old. She worked in a restaurant that she and my uncle owned. Then she got married, had 5 kids, and now she's, yeah, she's well. She kind of insists on working, even though she's at a point where she can definitely retire. but I don't know. I mean, I know I'm not going to get to retire, but in the off chance that say I had to work till I was 70 to retire, and I got to that point, once I hit 70, I would just go straight to my supervisor and be like, yeah, I'm out of here. And then I would just spend whatever time I have left doing whatever it is I want to do. Because, I mean, the saying is, we're here for a good time, not a long time. But I know that even if I live to 100 and work till 100, there's not going to be a retirement for me. I'm going to be working till the day I die, whether I live to be 40 or 100. Big shit. Yeah. But anyway, the fact that I was getting the big chickens means I was doing pretty good there. Where did I land on the board? Number 5. Oh well. That's fine. I mean, this is just a little arcadey style game anyway. So, yeah. Anyway,
3, 2, 1.
I think this is probably going to be the last one, and then I'm going to call it for today, because being an arcade-style game, there's really only so much I can say, but I mean, I even looked up on Twitch, and the Ultra Hand game here does have its own category, but I figured I'd put it under just chatting for the sake of hopefully getting somebody, looking for somebody just talking about random shit. But I don't know. I'm just worried for tomorrow, because my work shift is supposed to be 8:30 to 5, but given we're going into a 3-day weekend and approaching the end of the month as well, I know that tomorrow I'm probably not going to be out of work until at least 9:30 p.m. So, yeah. Fortunately, there will be no stream tomorrow, which is why I'm doing one today. What I plan to do after this, I'm not 100% on, but I mean, this is just a little stuff like the Let's Look At that I'm doing. I plan to mostly have this kind of like a breather between games, because Mega Man 3 pretty much kicked my ass towards the end, and then there was my attempt at Katamari Damacy that didn't go all that well, so I'm not quite sure what I plan to do next. Definitely like my next game. Yeah. Damn it, I dropped it. Let's print a Skriller. Sounds about right. Let's back out here. If I had another Wiimote and nunchuck and someone to play with, I could potentially do versus mode, but I don't have that, so unfortunately I can't show that off. I'm assuming it's basically just a 2-player mode to see who goes for the highest score and who can go the longest without screwing up. Let me just check my rankings here one last time. Yeah, the highest I got to was 35,632. Who knows? Maybe I can come back to this one day, assuming my Wii U memory doesn't like corrupt and delete this or something. But if it does, I'm sure somebody online has found a way to make this available for anyone to play, as opposed to just those who were members of Club Nintendo back in the day, which is how I got this. But, yeah. In terms of giving this game, like, a rating, like I do with other games, the stuff I do with the Let's Look At series that I plan to do will not get a proper ranking. So on my thing on my Twitch channel, I have a spot where I list the games I've beaten and where I'd rank them on like a tier list from, you know, F tier to S tier. Stuff like this I put on there will have a N, which just means no rank, because I mean, there's not really a way to quote unquote win a game like this unless you consider getting the highest score a win. I don't. I just kind of wanted to show this off, given it's a pretty unique bit of gaming history here. I'm fairly certain Nintendo could do something like this again, make this available either as like a $5 download or something that you can redeem with points through like Nintendo Switch Online. And even add like online functionality to this for people to have fun with. I mean, the Ultra Hand is essentially the beginning of that, you know, quote unquote Nintendo flavor that people can easily identify. And this is just a way of Nintendo kind of, you know, acknowledging their history, because those who don't remember their history are doomed to repeat it. But aside from this, stuff like the Ultra Hand and other toys from Nintendo's, you know, days back in the 60s. I know in Animal Crossing New Leaf, they made a bunch of these toys available, stuff like the Ultra Hand, the Ultra Machine, which is basically a kid-sized pitching machine, the Love Tester that supposedly measures compatibility between two people, and also a toy called the 10 Billion Barrel, which is basically Nintendo's take on the Rubik's Cube. Yeah, a lot of those toys I remember seeing in Animal Crossing New Leaf. There was an update in New Horizons that added these toys, as well as a bunch of, you know, old school Nintendo consoles to New Horizons. The Love Tester, as well as a couple other Nintendo things, are referenced in Pikmin 2. And I think it's important they keep this kind of stuff, you know, they keep referencing kind of this era of Nintendo as it kind of kickstarted them into, you know, where they are now. Gunpei Yokoi, the man behind the Ultra Hand, unfortunately passed away in 1997. He died in a car accident. So he unfortunately, he's kind of forgotten a bit in Nintendo history, probably because it's been almost 30 years since he, passed away. Looking it up, I think he'd be about 86 or 87, had he, not died in a car crash, but at that age, whether he'd still be alive today would be a bit of a coin toss. I know Miyamoto, who, was basically saw Yokoi as a mentor, Miyamoto is in his 70s now, so he's kind of getting up there in years too. Don't really want to think about that because, oh, that's going to be a sad day when that eventually comes. But anyway, I think that's about it for today. So let me see about finding someone to raid. If there's anybody worth raiding or trying to raid. But yeah, since I was on the just chatting tag, I'm gonna find someone else on that as well. As for my next stream, again, it's unfortunately not gonna be tomorrow. That's just not gonna happen given the amount of work I'm gonna have that day. I'm not 100% on if Wednesday will be possible either, but hopefully by Thursday, work has calmed down enough where I'll be not only able to get home in time to stream, but also have enough energy to stream something or other. But, I mean, there's always the VOD channel not only for me to, essentially listen to this on playback to see how it sounds and everything, but just, I guess, something to have in the background if you really need something to distract yourself. But, I will be back at some point to stream another game. I just need to figure out what that game's gonna be. So can't figure out how to raid the person, so I'm just gonna end it here. So until next time, this is Jackred VT. Ride the wind.